Ja, true, but we change it and it's true. By the time, you see the bees change every life.
And if you can spare a lot, we give thanks for that. Your patience was definitely respected as we move forward. I am proudly presenting to you Dr. Jazani Kush, presenting the Royal Lioness, Rastafari Woman Journeys of Self-Liberation. Come, let us give her a warm and healthy round of applause. Let us show how we do it in Bordeaux. Yes, Sister Jazani Kush.
Yes, yeah, man. Farai.
I Selassie the First and his divine consort, Empress Menen Asfa, and I give thanks. It's always a pleasure to be here at Bordeaux. I first experienced Bordeaux in '09. And at that time, I spoke about the writing of the book. The book hadn't been completed at that time, but the energy that I received from Bordeaux let me know right then at that time, once the book was published, that this would have to be one of the first places that I will present this work. You know, the Rastafari energy is always so Isla here. I'll begin by giving you some background regarding the artwork on the book. Whenever you decide to do a publication, people always say that it's the cover that catches the audience. And so in thinking about this work, since it is a work on Rastafari woman, I realized that the head of the Rastafari woman's movement, I brethren within that liberty what it means to be a woman. Something is seriously wrong with that. Women in all African societies are the individuals who usher women into rites of passage and womanhood rights. However, in Rastafari, the Rastafari sister is usually told by the man, because he's the one bringing her in, okay, now you dress a certain way. Now you're wearing your locks, so your locks have to be covered. Now, even down to your menstrual cycle, you understand? These are the amount of days that you will stay home or stay away from the Nyabingi function. So every single aspect of our womanhood, for the most part, is dictated. Now this does one man, you understand, who is Empress Menen Asfa, would have to be shown prominently in this work. So, I don't know if the item can see it properly, but you have the emperor and you have the empress sitting on two thrones. And they are not dressed in their traditional coronation robes, but they're dressed in less formal garments. And the reason meant behind that is because you have sistren on the cover who are coming up to receive their due rewards for the good works that they have done. And they're receiving this reward from their mother and father. So their mother and father needed to be in royal garments, but not so formal, because we don't meet our mama and daddy in their coronation robes, see? So that is the reason why the emperor has on his Ethiopian whites and the empress has on her royal purple. The sisters are coming out of the highlands of Ethiopia to receive medals. Now, the empress has in her hand a scroll. It's a parchment scroll. And on the scroll are the names of great Ethiopian women, such as Deborah, Judith, you have Taitu, you also have Zipporah, the Ethiopian who Moses married. So if your name is not on this roll call, then you don't receive the reward from the emperor. And what the emperor has in his hand is an order. In Ethiopia, we have various orders and medallions that ones wear. And this particular order is called the Most Exalted Order of the Queen of Sheba. That is what these sisters are receiving. Now, this order was established in 1922 by Queen Zari II, by Empress Zari II. And it is an order that only certain women of the royal houses receive. So all of these Rastafari women are receiving that order. So that is what the cover of the book represents. The Empress also has her left hand on the head of a roaring lioness, you know, symbolizing the fact that even though a lot of us view the Empress as being very humble or very quiet, within her iris there's still a strong power. So she's still able to still a roaring lioness. So that is the cover of the book. And the work was done by a Rastafari brethren in Miami by the name of Ross David. So, and it's very vividly displayed on the front. And on the back of the book, that order that I spoke about, the order of the Queen of Sheba, is very outlined. Okay? So now I'll go into the reason for writing this book. Rastafari is over 80 years old, right? Within this dispensation. And within those 80 years, there has never been a book written on the Rastafari woman's perspective within this liberty. So this is the first documentation of that. There have been many books written on Rastafari, and for the most part, Rastafari brethren have been interviewed to give ones an overview of what it means to live life as a Rastafari person. In this book, I interviewed 28 sisters. They come from all different walks of life and all different islands, and some are living on the continent of Africa. And these sisters told their stories. Their stories were very, they were unrestricted. I just freely let them reason. I had questions to ask, but what I found out in the research soon was that the sisters had things that they wanted to say. Imagine, after being in a tribe for over 80 years and no one has documented your voice, when you do get the opportunity to speak, you reason freely and you flow freely. So that's exactly what happened here within this work. There are also two brethren who are included in the work just to kind of balance the scales a little bit. And one is an elder who has transitioned on from the Nyabingi house named Congo or Bongo Rocky. Some of you might have known him. He was married to Empress Baby Eye. And the other brethren is Von Benjamin from Midnight. I wanted to give the youth perspective, and I guess Von will be considered a youth compared to Congo Rocky, who was in his 80s. So I added 28 sisters and 2 brethren to round it off for a total of 30 individuals. So that is the overview of the book. You have the interviews, and then you have a section where I actually reason from my perspective on what it means to be a Rastafari woman. I have been in the tribe for 24 years, since I was 16. And at the time that I entered this tribe, there was no strength for Rastafari woman as far as having role models, as far as having sisters to even help you come into the tribe. Oftentimes, the younger sisters were kind of snubbed by the older daughters, you know. We were the ones coming in, we were the fresh ones, and instead of receiving a warm embrace, oftentimes we got a screw face, you know, and that's just the reality of it. So this book seeks to provide a remedy to that. If a Rastafari sister just coming in does not have a sister within her community that she can reason to on what it means to be a Rastafari woman, she can reference this book. Coming into the Rastafari tribe, being a Christian or Muslim or whatever your religious faith is, there's a serious paradigm shift. Rastafari, as far as I am concerned, is the only tradition where a woman enters a tribe and is told by two things. Some sistren feel that they can't take it. And those are the sistrens that I call visitors to the movement. They come in, they might stay 5 or 6 years, then later on you see them and they're back to wearing pants and they're back to their perm because they just couldn't take the restrictiveness or what they perceive to be the restrictiveness of the liberty. Then there are those of us who are the residers. And that's those of us who came into the movement and yes, we saw that it was restricting or it was different. But we began to navigate and negotiate our own way within this tribe. It was simply too beautiful for us to walk away and to leave it. So we said, okay, if I have to dress this way, then I'm gonna add my touch to it. You have to do that. Rastafari sistren, those who have been in this tribe for a while will be able to testify. They are not the same women today that they were 25 years ago. Growth and change is progressive. As long as you stay within a certain perimeter that you think is culturally balanced, then it's fine. Rastafari and sistren have taken this liberty and have made it their own. And that's a blessing. When I interview these young sistren who are coming into the tribe, 22 and 23, these daughters are fiery, you know. I don't have to tell them much. They respect I because at 40 I'm considered an elder, imagine that, you know? But really and truly, they have a different understanding. They've read the speeches of His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I. They know the roles of Zarditu and Taitu. They know the roles of the Empress. When I and I were coming into this tribe, Empress Menin's name was rarely mentioned. We didn't even really know that there was a female counterpart or that there was a goddess energy. All we knew was that Haile Selassie I was the black man's god. Things have changed. Brethren's attitudes have even changed. As I came here today, a brethren just promptly pulled me up and said, look here, Dr. Man want reason to the eye. He wasn't that gruff, but he was kind of, you know, a little aggressive there. Where is he? I don't see him. But he said to her, he said, you know, sis, to be honest with you, when I heard you come here in 09 and you started talking that woman stuff, I said, here we go again. You know, it's always a division, there's always a separation. He said, but as I listen to the eye a little bit more, I get a different perspective. And just like I blocked to him, don't worry that the road seems rocky because it's a balance, a shift of power. Anytime there's a shift of power, there will be a transition mode. And yes, Rastafari brethren, for the most part, have been very dominant within this tribe. And sistren have not been always very vocal. So yes, it's going to take some time for the brethren them to realize that they have to release the reins. Because when sistren know themselves, they move with a certain dignity, you know. They move with a certain command. They move with a certain power. And it's nothing to be afraid of. You know, in my book, I write about 2 phases of Rastafari womanhood. One is what I call the iritical negist. And if you know Rastafari lingo, you know that iris refers to our mind or spirit or mental state, and negist is the Amharic word for queen. So I say that once the Rastafari woman comes into her real womanhood, once she begins to blossom, that she transitions into what I refer to as an iritical negist. That means a spiritual queen. She becomes a warrior, so to speak. So that power and that energy really makes her aglow. You know, when you reason to her, she can reason to you for hours about Haile Selassie and education and leadership and spirituality. You understand? Her iris are elevated. Then there's another thing that I reason about in the book called the blue fire. And I'll spend some time reasoning on the blue fire. Within the Rastafari tribe, especially within the Nyabingi house, you really have a lot of fireman them, And as sistren, I ground up in the Nyabingi house. You understand? So I used to all the fire, I used to all the roaring. Some people say we sound like we arguing, but it's just Jerusalem schoolroom reason, man. You understand? No reason to run. But that fire that the brethren them have is like a red hot fire. It is what I call, it's almost like a wildfire. It can be very destructive if you don't know how to handle it. But in my meditation regarding Empress Menen, and being a fire daughter myself, because if you deal with zodiac signs, I'm an Aries, which is a fire sign, so I carry that energy. But in thinking about Empress Menen and what she has to teach the Rastafari woman, I came up with an meditation called Blue Fire. So if the brethren them have the red fire, which is a roaring fire, the daughters them have a blue fire that is a channeled fire. It's a very specific fire. And the reason it's blue is because when you think of the color blue, what comes to your meditation? When we think of the sea, when we think of the sky, what does blue conjure? Huh? Coolness? Okay, good. Coolness or tranquility. See? But when you have that blue fire, think about your science classroom. Think about the beaker and the Bunsen burner, and think about the hottest fire there is, Oftentimes the hottest fire is that blue fire. But it's often deceptive because we think blue is so cool and so laid back, but see, that's the beauty of it. The beauty of it is that it is a fire, but because it's not a wildfire that is on a rampage, it can be channeled properly. The blue fire has two elemental components. The first is a purging one. So yes, fire will destroy and it will purge. But after it destroys and purges, it's just like the farmers here at Bordeaux. Sometimes they might burn certain, bush in order to plant again. And so that is the beauty of the blue fire. It burns, but then you rebuild. And that is why when Rastafari women do works within this tribe, things get done. Seriously, we have that fire. Very rarely will a Rastafari woman say, I'm going to do this, and it don't come to pass. I ain't saying that the brethren them don't do it works, but sisters are very focused. Another example of the blue fire is the conception within a Rastafari woman or any woman's womb. When a woman is about to get ready to create, her body temperature rises, right? That's the heat. When she is able to carry that fruit within her womb and have a calm meditation, that's the blue. You understand? That is the blue fire, and that is the channeled energy. When that youth come forward, some children, we see them and they bawling non-stop from the time they're born. And you're looking at the mother and saying, what happened to you when you was pregnant? You was depressed? You were angry at the man? What do you? Because the youth is exhibiting the same symptoms. Well, I chant that when Rastafari women know themselves, and it's at that most precious time of conception, that we can bring forth youths that are so mighty and so great. They will make the man and woman them in the prophecy look small. You understand? Because we understand that power that we have. So it is truly a fullness. I also want to block very briefly on the idea of the divinity of the Rastafari woman, because she is truly divine. When they chant and sing Empress Divine, it's serious, because the Rastafari woman or the black woman truly is the original guardian angel. If you think about certain identical or spiritual beings, when you think about the cherubims and the seraphims, those beings are often represented as feminine energies. When you look at the Ark of the Covenant and you see the cherubims above the mercy seat, those are feminine energies. when I reasoned from the prophecy about the daughters of Zion, I just want to block this quickly, you know. There's a difference. Rastafari woman, where the item there? I hope the item listening closely. When the prophecy reasoned about the daughters of Zion, it is a difference. If I say you are a daughter from Zion, that can mean you're a daughter from Bordeaux, you're a daughter from St.THOMAS. That's where you rest in. But when I say you are a daughter of something, it means you come from that place. That place is your source. Rastafari woman is the daughter of Zion, really and truly. Now, I've never read of the brethren of Zion. You understand? The prophecy only reasoned to you about the daughters of Zion. I have read about the Kabbalah speaks about the sons of doctrine who might be compatible to the daughters of Zion. But if I were a Rasta man, I would be seeking one of these daughters of Zion. And I they're about to know. You understand? That is the divinity. When you understand Empress Menen and her role within His Majesty's life, then you know that the divine energy and spark runs through you. These sisters who are interviewed in this book talk so much about the balance, you know. It's like the relationship between Haile Selassie and his queen or his empress. It's almost like a guideline now for Rastafari sister, and that's why I said they're much stronger. Because you can't step to some of these daughters anymore with softness, you know, because they're quick to pull out His Majesty's autobiography upon you and say, look here, we don't know what happened. We don't know what really went on in their life behind the palace gates. But somehow our umbilical cord tells us that that balance we saw in 1930 from the coronation, that it poured over into their daily life. You understand? So these sisters are very strong and they're very high love. I want to entertain some questions regarding the work, regarding Rastafari woman. I want to hear from brethren. I want not only the sisters, I really want to hear from the brethren, because when sisters decide to stand up and stand firm, I don't want the brethren them fighting them down, you know. It's only a weak man who is afraid of a strong woman. Rastafari is too revolutionary to have men who want weak daughters. And sister, we have to unify and strengthen ourselves. You understand? We have to look at each other and recognize each other's talents and not be afraid to give compliments and to even strengthen the one when necessary. So I really would love to hear from brethren and sisters so that we could have a positive communication and flow. See? And I don't want to stand up here all day waiting for one question or comment. I listening.
How you gonna maintain your energy from day to day through all this turmoil?
Give thanks. Well, maintaining your energy on a daily basis comes through prayer and meditation. See? That is the most positive way and the most sustaining way. Every day when I get up, I give Isis unto the King of Kings. See? And I also give Isis unto his wife. There are certain things that I pray for, just like when you go to your mother and father, right? There are certain things that you would ask mommy because you figure mommy know. And there are certain things that you will ask your father. So I send out my prayers individually to their divine majesties, and I also send out my prayers, you know, as one unit. So prayer, yes I. Anybody else? Wow, I come all the way to Bordeaux and one question. One question. Donna, what happened then?
Asking questions about Rastafari. We wanted to come through
scene. The question was, what would my advice be to a young woman who is coming into Rastafari and really wants to understand the fullness of Rastafari? Well, I would say, since Rastafari is a tradition that is really biblical based, you know, right now a lot of Rastafari is kind of pushing the Bible aside for whatever, you know. But even if you decide to do that later on for whatever reason, my word sound initially will be to full up within the prophecy. That's one thing. You understand? And to reason with your sister. You understand? And to reason to go up to them, and sometimes people can be a little standoffish, but it is the responsibility of the older Rastafari sisters, such as myself, to acknowledge and nurture and mentor the younger sisters. So don't feel no way to go up to them and reason. You understand? Because oftentimes they pass you straight, screw up their face, act like they don't know you, hot them up higher, burn it. You understand? Tell them, sis, I want a reason to the eye, you know, and just block your sound. And also continue to participate in Rastafari events and functions. And you know, you have a filter that is within your iris, you understand, that lets you decipher the righteous from the unrighteous. So those will be my three reasoning, you understand, with sisters who've been in the tribe, knowing your prophecy and other biblical books, the Karen Guest, you understand, and also don't become like some people who, when they hear Rastafari functionings are going on, man, I tired of them ones, they don't be like that, sis. You understand? Just continue to support. Yes, I give thanks, give thanks. Yes, I. All right. I am waiting. Yes, I. Yes, Ross Bobby.
We didn't deny being gay.
Oh, because yes, I, Virgin.